Once upon a time in a land far away, there lived a man named Isaac who had two sons, Esau and Jacob. Esau was a skilled hunter and his father's favorite, while Jacob was a quiet man who stayed among the tents. But despite their differences, these two brothers were destined for a great and tumultuous journey. One day when Esau came back from hunting, he was famished and asked Jacob for some stew. Jacob, seeing an opportunity, offered to trade the stew for Esau's birthright as the firstborn son. Esau, who did not value his birthright, agreed and sold it to Jacob for a simple bowl of stew. Years passed and Isaac grew old and blind. He called for Esau, his favorite son, and asked him to prepare a meal so that he could give him his blessing before he died. But Rebekah, Jacob's mother, overheard this and devised a plan to help Jacob receive the blessing instead. She prepared a meal for Jacob and dressed him in Esau's clothes, so that he would smell like his brother. Then she sent Jacob to his father, pretending to be Esau. Jacob went to his father and received the blessing. But as soon as he left, Esau returned from hunting and discovered what had happened. Esau was furious and vowed to kill Jacob as soon as their father died. Rebekah heard of Esau's plan and sent Jacob away to her brother Laban's house until Esau's anger subsided. Jacob traveled far and wide until he reached a certain place where he stopped for the night. He took a stone and put it under his head and lay down to sleep. That night he had a dream in which he saw a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham your father and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and to your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. So early in the morning, Jacob took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up for a pillar and poured oil on the top of it. He called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of the city was Luz at the first. Jacob continued his journey and eventually reached his uncle Laban's house. There he met Rachel, Laban's younger daughter, and fell in love with her. He agreed to work for Laban for 7 years in exchange for Rachel's hand in marriage. But on the wedding night, Laban deceived Jacob and gave him his older daughter, Leah, instead. Jacob was furious, but he agreed to work for Laban for another 7 years in exchange for Rachel. Jacob worked for Laban for many years and had many children with Leah and Rachel. But he grew tired of Laban's deceitful ways and decided to leave and return to his homeland. He gathered his wives, children, and possessions and set out on the journey back to Canaan. But before he left, he had a strange encounter with a mysterious man who wrestled with him all night long. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then the man said, let me go, for the day is broken. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. And the man said to him, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. Then the man said, your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed. Jacob named the place Peniel, saying, for I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered. The sun rose upon him as he passed Peniel, limping because of his hip. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, this is God's camp. So he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Jacob continued on his journey and eventually reached the land of Canaan. There he was reunited with his brother Esau, who had forgiven him for stealing his blessing. Jacob bowed down to the ground 7 times, but Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. And so Jacob settled in the land of Canaan, where he lived out the rest of his days. He had many children and grandchildren, and his descendants became a great nation, just as the Lord had promised. And through all the trials and triumphs, betrayals and blessings, Jacob's story serves as a reminder of the power of faith, perseverance, and the grace of God. And that, dear friends, is the epic story of Jacob in the Bible, a story of betrayal, blessings, and battles, of a man who wrestled with God and prevailed. May we all find inspiration in Jacob's journey and trust in the Lord's promises, no matter what challenges come our way.